The most common mistakes I see
Jesus.
among amateur lifters is probably they all train too heavy.
I want to say that I agree with him 100%, and it's not too heavy just in bodybuilding. It's too heavy in general on just about everything.
Maybe instead of actually trying to curl the 45s, maybe you have to use the 20s. Because you could curl the 45s with a little bit of momentum and restricting the range of motion, but you can't, you know, like you'd get a better connection with the 20.
I don't feel like I need to use any sort of heavy weight for anything, whereas before, that was the sport that I was in.
It takes a little bit of pulling back from the ego, pulling back from being worried about the weight that's on that dumbbell or the weight that's on the bar, and actually moving the load with quality repetitions.
So lift light is the message.
Lift like a bitch, never push yourself in the gym. That's kind of what we talk about.
You got the audio video converter button,
Oh, we're doing audio and video?
TV VCR button.
Tracking is a little bit off. I like how you just look over here.
Man, you
Do
really
you like
changed.
that?
You really changed over the years. Remember, he used to drink the cancerous stuff on
Yeah.
here all the time. Now he's changing to drinking something that's got a little fiber in it.
Olipop and some liquid death. Dog, I've been so addicted to these.
They're great. I love those things.
I've been going to Sprouts, and they know me now. They know me. So when I go in,
Look at you going to Sprouts.
All grown up.
there's this Asian lady that works there. So when I go and I look at her, she looks at me, and we go to the back freezer, and then she gets me boxes, and I get a
Goes to
discount.
the back freezer. huh? Wow.
No, she goes and gets me boxes of Olipop because then I get a discount for buying
nice.
boxes.
I wasn't sure where the story was going.
No, no,
Wow.
no.
She could be up in that freezer.
She's like mom. She's like mom.
Oh, I see.
Is there artificial sweeteners in Ollipops?
Man, I don't give up. There might be. Let's see.
No, I'm just curious. I have been on this.
Well, it's
weird...
vegan and paleo. It has prebiotics, botanicals, and plant fiber. And
That's weird that you're saying it like that.
okay, cassava root fiber, chicory root.
Okay,
Looks all natural to me.
cool. I'll have to give it a shot.
You go get him, Tiger.
Yeah. All right. Dude,
Andrew's getting excited over there. I think.
a little bit.
See that desk rising
I'm
up.
blushing over here. No, trying to find like quote unquote natural sweeteners is really hard.
Yeah.
I went to whatever they have all the fancy sweeteners and stuff, and so like a lot of stevians because I was like I know stevia is pretty natural. Everything still had dextrose in it and maltodextrin, which I don't even know what the hell those actually are. And then I went to monk fruit, and then everything else had erythritol in it. All the natural, 100% natural sweeteners.
Stevia leaf. I see stevia leaf.
Stevia leaf's fine,
Oh, okay.
but what I'm saying is like if I try to go find sweetener just by it, like you can't. It's impossible. You cannot get it.
It's interesting because like what is natural, and then you have like some of this stuff comes from plants, and you're like, well, sugar, comes from a plant,
Right.
but you don't want the extra calories in there, I guess. So I think stevia and monk fruit are sweet, but kind of absent of all the calories that you might get from sugar.
Correct. Yeah.
Because some of y'all think whenever we have something, they must be sponsoring. No, these motherfuckers don't sponsor. I'd like them to. I'd like to not be paying for these anymore, but
I would like that too.
But Andrew, the funny thing you're saying is I do like Zevias, but Zevias do give me the bubble guts. I'll drink through it.
They hurt my stomach.
But yeah,
Not sure why.
They make me bubble up a little bit. So it is what it is. But these don't. What I'm saying is I drink
It's also hard to find stuff that doesn't have caffeine. Like everything's got caffeine in it.
Yeah.
So I get the stevia passion fruit tea. I get that all the time because it doesn't have any. It's got no calories or 5 calories or whatever, and then it has no caffeine because I'm tired of everything having caffeine in it. I don't want to be all, I don't want to be all revved up trying to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Last thing I need.
Are you drinking less caffeine now than you used to? Because I remember you did do that for a while. Did you keep that up? Like you're drinking coffee not every day?
I have coffee just about every day,
Okay.
but usually just once.
How about you with your new fancy coffee maker?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that Jura is so nice. I just sit there and look at it, make coffee, and I'm just like, I have calmed it down quite a bit, actually. So like, I'll do a double espresso shot in the morning, and then I won't really have any caffeine the rest of the day. Scratch that. I do have one shot of caffeine kind of almost right when I wake up. I know you're supposed to wait 90 minutes because your blah, blah, blah doesn't actually.
Huberman said.
Yeah, Huberman. And
That's the only reason.
A bunch of other. Yeah, your adrenal scenes don't wake up until 90 minutes after you wake up because they know exactly, oh, this fucker gets up at 3:45. Okay, in 90 minutes from now, that's when we're going to get up.
But it's your fault because you're not taking the sunlight into your eyeballs.
Yeah, the sunlight when it's not out yet.
Exactly.
I wish I could find that clip. Sorry. So about 100 milligrams caffeine pretty early and then a double shot of espresso and that's it.
You fancy fuck.
Yeah.
I just have a double shot of espresso.
Yeah. Well, it's with Steak Shake, so that's good. But the thing that I noticed, I was like, dude, I have artificial sweeteners with literally everything I eat.
Does
Every
that
meal.
concern you?
No, so yes and no. Yes, because what we learned over the past couple of years, it's like, oh, this is totally fine. Like, this is good. This is okay. And I'm like, yeah, artificial sweeteners too. And I'm, oh, wait, how can I be mad at them for saying this over here and then be like, no, we're all good because this fits my narrative. So I just kind of looked at it. And
That's it. That's all that matters. My narrative.
Yeah,
bro.
it's good for me. It's my truth. So I don't know. I just looked at it and I was like, let me just see if I can get by without taking so many damn artificial sweeteners. So that's like been my sober October is like just try to stay away from them completely.
I just
I'm
always
doing okay, but there's a couple of like I had gum the other day and I'm like, motherfucker.
Oh, that shit shouldn't count.
I know that right. That's what I said, but it's in there.
You're right.
There's a toll. I don't know which one. TOL. It's a sugar alcohol. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's interesting. Like you can think about some of this stuff. Like, could you imagine the first people that like found caffeine? Like, would you share that with anybody? Would you share that information, or you just like fuck everybody else up because you're all wired all the time?
Yeah.
Caffeine's history is actually pretty fucking wild.
What do they have on us over there, man? Like, you ever notice those guys are so amped up all the
They're
time?
building all kinds of stuff. They never get tired.
Yeah, they seem like indestructible.
Yeah.
Even at night, their eyes are bugging out of
They're
their
just
head.
floating all the time.
Caffeine actually did spur a lot of development.
Yeah,
It really
had to
did.
have, yeah.
Well, it also, I think coffee was like or not just coffee, but tea, coffee and tea.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee, tea, and alcohol was like the way that you drank because you couldn't drink the regular water. It had to be like heated and get rid of the bacteria that was in it or whatever.
It'd be so cool to try like alcohol from the 1600s or some shit, just to know like what was different about this alcohol. Because it was definitely probably like, it probably had a fresher, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just romanticizing the 1600s.
Yeah.
That's probably some bullshit I just said.
It's probably dirty.
It's probably dirty as fuck. You're right. You're right.
I don't know. Maybe it was stronger. I don't know.
I could see it being stronger because it's probably all super fermented.
But I wonder, like, you go way back and it's the first time that someone's like had caffeine. It's like we can't really remember the first time we had caffeine. It's hard to place it. I know, like, I do remember the first time I had like pre-workout. I remember that.
Which one was it?
Well, it was before there was pre-workout. There was something called Ultimate Orange, and Ultimate Orange was fucking wild. I don't even know what was in there. Still to this
just like
day.
ephedrine.
Yeah, it had ephedrine, it had caffeine in it, it had all kinds of stuff, and I was just like talking a mile a minute and stuff. And I remember my brother and I, we were going to go to the gym, and then something happened, and we couldn't go, and we went to my grandmother's house, and I'm like sitting down at the table, and I'm like talking to my brother. And my grandma, who's super sweet, she's always like, Mark, honey, you want me to make you a sandwich? You want me to? Like, she wouldn't take no for an answer. She'd like make you something and bring you food every time. And she puts her hand on my shoulder, and I turn around, I'm like, what do you want? I'm like, oh, I'm like, hi, Grandma. Like, I was just so amped up. I wasn't even thinking. I was just all like wired from, and I felt all sick and stuff too.
I got so sick.
Yeah, I remember feeling sick, and like my nose was cold, but I was sweaty.
I ended up just typical, took a pre-workout and just shit my pants for like half an hour straight. Didn't want to go to, and this was like 6 p.m. at night taking pre-workout. Just like, oh, it's not a good idea.
Oh my god!
I'm just reading. I'm reading reviews because they still sell Ultimate Orange, but like if you're an old school guy like me and you're disappointed in this product, reason being is that there's no ephedrine in this product. Ephedrine is what made this and other energy products effective back in the 90s. Sadly, ephedrine has been banned by a bunch of government morons. So ephedrine is what you had. Fucking
some
hell.
speed in there. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Those were the good old days. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Cool. So anyway, today I put together a string of videos where some very high-level bodybuilders were talking about not so much the crazy, insane PRs they hit in the gym, but how they kind of took a different approach to it. Not a different approach than what we romanticize, used that word earlier, so I want to use it again, sound cool.
Ding, ding, pick up points.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting. It started with Phil Heath on Modern Wisdom, and I don't know, I want to see what you guys have to say about it.
Why is forearms so jacked? Holy shit.
It's because he lifted light.
Still yoked.
Yeah, let's see here. Let me make sure this is good.
Those are very impressive forearms, though. Like,
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm not a guy that was bench pressing 500 pounds in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't that dude. I was strong, but I wasn't one of those guys. Like, so you got to know who you are. Like, for me, never bench press over 5 plates. I did 5 plates before, and that was a lot. Like,
What's that?
495.
Right.
So, like, all right. So let's just say 500 pounds. You know?
Respect, he didn't say 500. He said 495.
I think that's good enough for a 1 rep max. There's guys that can rep that out, but I'm like, but I beat them. So it's not necessary.
Pause. That's stupid, though. That's the stupidest clip. Because 495 is still fucking heavy as fuck.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I didn't lift heavy. I mean, most I did 5 plates. 4 plates, I did that kind of. Like, still heavy as fuck.
Yeah, and
What are we
also
talking about?
I don't know like what kind of weight Phil Heath got up to. He got very big, but I think he would be like 270, 280. So still, benching 500 pounds around that body weight is still very impressive. But I guess like to his point, we know this. We've seen this a lot, like with especially pro bodybuilders.
Yeah,
they kind of find their groove, right? They find like the way that they need to lift for themselves. And you saw like Dorian Yates did like less sets, but more intense sets. He seemed like he worked out a little less and ended up in the long run and ended up getting bigger. But there's other guys who really love doing like set after set after set, and they love just hammering tons and tons of reps, and they train a lot lighter. So it just kind of depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, and bodybuilding, if majority of people just like actually took themselves close to muscular failure, you could be surprised with what you can do that with certain, like, try to see what a bicep curl, but not just your average bicep curl where you come down here. Let your arm come all the way down. All right? See how many reps you can do with this type of range of motion on a bicep curl, and then tell me like you can't get away with lighter weight, because most people are going to have to lower their weight if they did that. Right? Same thing with a chest press. Instead of stopping here, go a little farther. See what happens. So you can still get a lot done with lighter load.
Yeah.
Get those reps in, and also if you're at a moderate rest period, if you're to every minute on the minute or somewhere in that range, that's going to kind of make the intensity of the whole thing, make everything a lot harder. So your next couple sets, it's all going to put you in the same spot, I think, is what people don't really maybe realize, is that like if you do like a set of 5 and set number or rep number 3, 4, and 5 are a little slower, doing sets of 10 with, a challenging weight is going to put you in that same spot probably on the last couple reps. It's just that there's different ways to get it in terms of how much overall volume you're getting. Some people like to get it over the course of a couple sets, and some people like to kind of get it done in like one shot.
Yeah, this next clip goes along the lines of what you were saying, Nsima.
We make it more complicated when we start thinking we need to handle more weight. The primary goal here is not to contract, not to lift weights. You're not a weightlifter. I'll never be a weightlifter. And for people out there that don't know what a weightlifter and a bodybuilder, what's the difference, I'm going to explain it to you. A bodybuilder is primarily concerned with contracting his muscles. He contracts his muscles against greater and greater amounts of resistance. By doing that, he's able to stimulate hypertrophy and make his muscles grow.
Hypertrophy.
A weightlifter is just concerned about moving weight. And he can boast to you about how much he curls, how much he benches, how much do you lift? You're a weightlifter. It's really not important to me. Primarily, what's important to me is being able to make my muscles contract efficiently. I'm going to get a stretch and a contraction. And I'm going to be in control of it throughout the entire range of motion. Does that make sense? Now that might not look impressive to people at home. I'm a professional bodybuilder. I'm struggling contracting my biceps against 30 pounds of resistance. But somebody at home is, I could do more than he's curling.
Do you look like him though?
No.
That's pretty impressive. I think, some of what he's referring to is like, just people talk about it quite a bit, is like chasing the pump. You get a pump and then you stay on top of that, and the actual weight that you're using at that point isn't the most significant thing. Although you do need something that does challenge you a little bit. So it's not like he was using 10-pound dumbbells. He was using 30-pound dumbbells, and he's in a position where his muscles are kind of being isolated in a way. And that's what a lot of good bodybuilders do. They'll like isolate the targeted area that they want to train. And I do think that, especially the pro guys, I think they have something. I think there's like something special or something different about them that's probably hard to for us to maybe truly understand. I think that as we pointed out in previous episode when we were talking about how genius some of these athletes can be, and that it's maybe something that's not discussed that much. I think there's like a certain genius and a certain artistry that's involved in bodybuilding, and being able to get into that muscle and be able to make that muscle move, because there's a lot of people that try. There's a lot of people that do it. And there's people that take performance enhancing drugs. There's people that take it to all kinds of lengths, and they can't seem to quite get it down quite as well as some of these guys that really stand out from the rest.
Yeah. One thing about that though is like, there's definitely an aspect that's different just because of the amount of muscle those guys can gain, right? But I do think that if people really do give themselves the time, and like Kai was saying, if you just stop focusing on the weight, then you will be able to achieve a better muscular connection. But you might have to use some load that maybe in front of your homies or in front of people in the gym you're a little bit embarrassed about using. Maybe instead of actually trying to curl the 45s, maybe you have to use the 20s. Because you could curl the 45s with a little bit of momentum and restricting the range of motion, but you can't, you'd get a better connection with the 20s. And I think that's the thing though. That takes a little bit of pulling back from the ego, pulling back from being worried about the weight that's on that dumbbell or the weight that's on the bar, and actually moving the load with quality repetitions.
Do you guys think there's anything lost when like in that clip, Kai was like kind of leaning back, so he was at a mechanical disadvantage, right? It wasn't just vertical; he was actually leaning back,
almost like an incline bench.
Right. So it was harder because again, he's having to kind of pull against gravity and then some. If somebody is doing because it's almost like a preacher curl also, but like if somebody's lifting, let's say 20 pounds that way, and it's really, really hard, but they can do 40 pounds normal, like just normal standing curl. Do you think there's anything lost because the 20 pounds feel as heavy as the 40 leaning back? Do you think there's anything lost when going lighter, but making it a little bit more difficult?
I do think there's some differences, but I think it depends on the individual's goals. Like in the case of like a bodybuilder, and in the case of what Kai Green was talking about, there's like something very specific that he's trying to get done within the context of his workout. And I think that, to his point, is I think that he's demonstrating and saying that he's able to do that and he doesn't need a lot of weight. Whereas somebody else might feel a little differently. They might feel like they need a little bit more weight. Using more weight definitely has a different impact on the body in some regards. Maybe you can't flex the muscle the same way, but maybe it has an impact on your nervous system. And if you're a thinner guy and you're really having a hard time gaining weight, this is where sometimes the heavier weight with a little bit of momentum might not be a bad idea if you tried other avenues and weren't successful.
Power Project family, if you're trying to increase your muscle mass, if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to stick to your nutrition plan, if you're trying to get fit, pretty much if there's anything you're trying to do for your health, we know that sleep is the biggest determining factor to help you get from point A to point B. That's why we've been sleeping on 8 Sleep mattresses for probably more than 2 years now. And the main reason is the technology behind the Pod Pro. Now, the Pod Pro is like the Tesla of beds. It will change its temperature based off of how you're sleeping during the night. And if if you have a partner that's sleeping on the other side, they could have their own temperature settings. We all sleep hot here, and I used to wake up in a puddle of my own sweat.
Gross.
That doesn't happen anymore because of the 8 Sleep mattress, and I've been getting the best sleep of my life. Now, if you don't want to replace your mattress, you can just get the Pod Pro cover, and you can put that over your current mattress to get all the benefits of 8 Sleep. But if you also need to replace your old nasty mattress, you can get the Pod Pro cover and the 8 Sleep mattress. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to 8sleep.com/powerproject, and you guys will automatically receive $150 off of your order. Again, 8sleep.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Check it out.
Let's first talk about how most people progress through the sets of an exercise. Let's use standing dumbbell curl, for example. They'll walk to the rack, do an easier set, and they'll go, okay, I'm going to go up. They go up, it gets a little tougher. Maybe they go up again, and they go, oh, that's too heavy. They either keep that same weight, they drop back down, and that's their exercise. To me, that's all wrong. I think a better way to look at it is after that first set, instead of just unconsciously thinking, okay, I need to add more weight, instead just think of how can I connect this exercise better? Or how do I make sure that this is the best exercise for me to do? By all means, if you have an incredible connection to just regular curls, add more weight and blow up those biceps. You shouldn't have a problem. But I still think it's a good idea to always test different angles, tempo, mechanical disadvantages, range of motion, because you never know what you're going to connect with that day. And for me, connection is everything. Also, this is a long-term play because you can't lift heavy for years. It's only a matter of time before something gives out. I think what it came down to for me is when I let my ego go, as well as some of those old ingrained beliefs that I got from an old high school coach that wore way too short of shorts. Things like you're going to grow the most from compound lifts. I don't think that's the case. I think it just comes down to whatever stimulates that muscle the most. Because once you lose the ability to purposely engage the muscle you're trying to work, because you're obviously trying to get that fucking weight off your back, the benefit of adding weight doesn't outweigh the loss of control.
Very well said. I love the idea of like doing things from different angles, different ranges of motion. I think there's like so much value in the way that we're training now in regards to some of this topic. I think I don't feel like I need to use any sort of heavy weight for anything. Whereas before, that was the sport that I was in. You lifted the most amount of weight for one rep on bench, squat, deadlift. That's how I was judged, and that's what I competed in for many, many years. And then now I don't feel like I need that, but maybe if I was just beginning, I might still feel like I need a combination of some heavier lifting along with just some strict bodybuilder protocol where I am demonstrating better form, where I am working towards a pump. Yeah.
And the thing is like, even though I don't think it should make up a majority of the training, there is a benefit to doing partials. Like some people do it with bicep curls where they'll like do controlled eccentrics. So maybe they'll get the curl up here and then they'll just do partials in this range with a much heavier load. There's a benefit to that. But the thing is like, it does not weigh being able to progress yourself to being able to do a majority of these movements with a really good range of motion, because not only now are you going to get the benefits of, yeah, you're gaining muscle, you might be a little bit slower on the weight progression. The thing is when you get to that point and you're doing things with a really good range of motion, you won't move like most of the guys that are heavily muscled and can't move. Like a lot of guys that are heavily muscled bodybuilders also tend to kind of have a blocky, waddly walk. And maybe that's what you want, but I would assume most people don't necessarily want to move that way. And the way you move is really, there's a big effect of the habit, the way of which you lift does affect the way in which you move. And if you barely touch full range, if everything is pretty limited, short range of motion type of stuff, don't be surprised when you have impingements in your hips, your shoulders, certain things that pop up here and there, and you move in a kind of shitty way.
It seems like you're a fan of lifting better rather than just lifting more.
Yeah.
Like from what I've observed over the years, like even seeing you change the way that you do, I haven't seen you do this in a while, but seeing you do like a fly, like a dumbbell fly or dips or Copenhagen's or some of the movements in the gym, I noticed that you are not increasing the difficulty necessarily by just loading up more weight. You're doing so through different ranges of motion, or even what you were doing today with the kettlebell, where you're doing the kettlebell flips with a, what, 40 or 20?
It's 24 kilos.
24 kilos?
Yeah.
Even progressing on that and just not putting as much like oomph into it and trying to be smoother with it. So where did some of that come from for you? Like, well, how did you, because that's hard to adopt, and it's you've been that way since I've known you.
I think like stupid injuries when I started off. Like before I got to super training, there's actually a video of it deep on my Instagram where I was doing a 405 Pendlay row and I kind of got it up, or maybe it was 365 Pendlay row. I got it up, it got to my chest, but when I put it down, I injured my back. And I was definitely chasing weight when I was doing that. It was like I was really I wanted to progress to a 405 Pendlay row. That was the goal. But I did get it up, got down, I tinged my back, and that was like one of the last injuries where I was like, okay, let me kind of reevaluate the way I'm progressing at some of these lifts. And I still did for a few years progress weight, but that's when I really started trying to, and especially when I started jiu-jitsu, that's when I kind of shifted the way I lift into really long range of motion versus kind of keeping it shorter, because especially in jiu-jitsu, you're going to be in situations where you're all the way out here. There was a guy that I rolled with when I was a blue belt. And it was really shitty because it was his first day coming into our gym. He was traveling. Put him in an arm bar, and he just got here. I didn't pull it fast, but he went here, boop. He literally tore his shit.
It was a shorter range of motion than what you were familiar with.
Yeah. But for him, he literally tore his shit. And then, like, his other side was also really, really tight, but I could tell, like, if he had a bit more range, that wouldn't necessarily have happened, right? And these are the things. It's like, specifically in jiu-jitsu, you do want to be very strong in long ranges. You don't want to be... You can't go far if you're not. A lot of the top guys are very strong in crazy long ranges, right? But that's kind of why I do that same thing with lifting. And I found it's played massive benefit because it's still, like we were talking about earlier, it's still very hard to do some of these movements with really heavy loads, but you still get all that muscular activation that you're looking for. The weight's lighter, and it's hard to get behind that sometimes.
I think people should treat themselves a little bit like a pro athlete. You know, you think about like, you know, when Patrick Mahomes comes into your gym and you know a little bit about lifting, like how would you train him? You know, it's like kind of intimidating. You'd be like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, why don't you pick a bunch of stuff that like he's going to excel at, he's going to do well at, he's going to feel good, and when he leaves the gym, he's going to feel good, and you can kind of observe the way that he moves, and then you could start to place more demands on him and challenge him. Hopefully, you could have an opportunity to train him, you know, a handful of times or something, and each time you can progress. But you wouldn't just dump everything on him all at one time. You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to see if he can lift the way I lift. I'm going to see if he could bench, squat, deadlift. And the same thing, I would say the same thing with a family member. Like think about how you would train your mom, or how you train your aunt, or how you train your uncle. You know, you think about how you would train somebody that you really care about. You would probably train them with some tender love and care, and you probably would like to see them work on these ranges of motion. So whether it's a family member or whether it's like one of the best athletes in the world, you're still going to, you know, scale upward. But the first workout, you're not going to just start by throwing the book at somebody. And I think it's an important message to teach people that, these football players and these basketball players and these elite athletes, they are training. They are in the gym, and we're huge believers of strength training. But it might not look the way that you think it looks. It might not look the way that your favorite influencer looks. They might not be loading up a 900-pound deadlift on a trap bar or something like that, because the risk to reward on that probably isn't great. Doesn't mean that they can't. Like we know some guys that do. Jimmy House comes to mind, right? There's some really extraordinary people out there that are kind of doing both. And you're like, holy shit. But I mean, we'd have to ask Jimmy House this directly, but I'm sure if we kind of pinned him down and say, hey, does it make any sense for you to deadlift any more weight other than just it makes you feel good? He'd probably say, I mean, I would have to ask him, but he'd probably say no. Because, you know, we got Kenny Williams just getting into some jiu-jitsu now. And we were kind of talking about some of the same topic in the gym, but for him, it's like strength, check. You know, strength in the gym, check. Strength on the mat, like, I don't know, he's going to have to have a lot of experience with jiu-jitsu to start to understand his weaknesses in the technique, his weaknesses in terms of like his experience with jiu-jitsu, and some potential things that he could maybe work on in the gym that would help him on the mat later on, right? I mean, in terms of strength, he's got it going on in terms of strength. There's no reason to lift any more weight.
Yeah. But what Kenny was saying, which is actually pretty interesting, is one of those things that big people deal with until you kind of start doing long range of motion shit. Like he was mentioning, when he gets his hand here, like his pec, like he can get he get, like if somebody mounts him and he's here, he's gonna tap, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that he has to lose muscle, but it means that he needs to build mobility through this area so that he's not so fucking...
Create some space.
Because, like, you can flex this area, but this area doesn't have to be flexed when this comes above the head.
Big guys that are listening right now, they're like, yeah, man, I almost go out when I'm doing lat pull downs. Or shoulder raises. Yeah. Yeah, just this can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it sucks for us big guys. Yeah, I know. No. Just real quick, when you were talking about partials, it just reminded me. So like when I first started lifting and stuff, I wish I just didn't have access to anything because I was always hearing and reading that partials were not a good thing to do. And as a newbie, I was like, but partials is when I actually feel that burn that everybody talks about. And I'm like, fuck, I wish, I don't know, I wish I'd trusted my gut instead of what like the influencers were talking about.
Wait, but so what do you mean? Like, you wish you knew that. Oh, that you could do partials. And
I wish I knew that I didn't have to listen to what everybody was saying and just go in and do like, hey, because what he was saying, right? He was like, my high school coaches all wanted me to do compound lifts, and he's like, cool, if that works for you. He's like, but if it doesn't, don't force it. And so for me, I was forcing everything because like, oh, this is what they say on YouTube, so I'm going to do that and that sort of thing. So that's what I meant.
Yeah, and not even to like. There's no hate on compound lifts. Who are you talking about? Like him, Ryan Humiston, right?
Yeah. He wasn't really hating on it. He was just saying that his coaches were doing too much of it. Yeah. But he was like, if you can make that connection, cool, go for it.
There we go. Yeah.
So he wasn't really hating.
Maybe take a second to explain like a little bit of what compound lifts could do for somebody. So let's say somebody goes to jiu-jitsu and they weigh. They're 6'3" and they're 160, and they don't have much experience in the gym. And they go to you guys and they ask you some questions like, "Hey, man, I think I should probably lift." You may suggest some compound movements. You might, and the reason would be, is that by focusing in on not overly focusing in, but focusing in on overhead presses and rows and bench press, squat, deadlift, some variations of those movements, could be with dumbbells or whatever, but some variations of those movements can give you like an overarching goal to where it can assist you if that person needed to gain weight. Like if that person really felt if you kind of assessed them and you're like, I think the main thing is just you need to be a little bit more durable in here, you need to be a little stronger. And so that's where you might suggest some of those movements and some of those lifts to somebody like that, because if they go from benching 135 to benching 185 and they go from deadlifting 225 to 315 and so on, and I'm not saying that has to be the only focus that they have, but it's just a focus over the course of some time, they most likely will have gained some weight and they most likely might be more resilient. But again, it has to be in combination with them going to jiu-jitsu class. It can't just be that they're focused in and trying to turn into a meathead.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody was starting from ground zero in Nsima, would you still prescribe some compound lifts like that? Like traditional,
Which ones?
Like barbell, squat bench, deadlift?
Yeah, I probably have a lot of things done with some dumbbells and some kettlebells, and I would have, if someone has a barbell, squatting would definitely be a good idea. But I think that probably squatting on a slant board for someone who does jiu-jitsu to allow them to get deep into their knees would probably be better, right? Yeah. And you can squat on a slant board with a kettlebell.
Probably been more appropriate for me to say like football or something, like where, if somebody's like, if someone's a defensive end or a tight end or something, they might need to weigh an X amount to be able to do well at that sport. But one of the advantages of jiu-jitsu is that the weight, it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, again, it's the nature of the sport. If someone's playing football and you're pushing into another human being at mass, like you're literally just trying to collide multiple times, right? And your pushing power makes a difference. So like the fact that like football players progress a lot of bench press, does make some fucking sense, right? So, but it's interesting how often some of these sports train, like football players. How often do football players get in the weight room? Like
a lot. You know, see, one of the actual issues with football is that you can't play it nearly as much as you think you can. Because you smash each other.
Yeah.
So you can't play it. So the only thing you can do is lift. Isn't that kind of funny? Yeah. All you can do is like lift.
It's
and
like boxing. Well, no. Because like boxing, you can't box at 100%, but football is different. It's different.
Yeah, football is really interesting that way. Like I was always frustrated with that because I love football. And as a kid, I loved it. I loved playing it. And I was just thinking like, we only play 10 games a season. Like by the time I'm a senior, you know, I need to already be like in the minds of these bigger colleges if I want to get a Division I scholarship. And so I'm going to really have my sophomore year and my junior year, and that's it. Because they, you know, by the time you become a senior, they should already be well aware of what you can do. And I'm like, man, that's just I'm just not good enough. I'm not good enough to be able to do that in that short a period of time. So yeah, you don't play that much. And so because of that, you're in the gym a lot. I would say even the guys that feel they don't need it, they're in the gym at least 2 or 3 times a week. And the guys that feel like they need it, they're in there like 4 or 5 days a week. Yeah. A lot of strength training.
Hey, let's just think about it. Like you'll see some killers in jiu-jitsu, some killers that are 140 pounds, 150, 160 pound killers. You're going to see that on the football field, dog? Nah.
No.
So
unless
really rare.
It's really rare.
A really, really good kicker.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
The most common mistakes I see among amateur lifters is probably, I think everyone sees it, they all train too heavy. We see too many guys that don't do the full body part workout. They do, you know, upper body. They
Can you
don't
pause it
put
for a
their
second?
legs.
I want to say that I agree with him 100%. And it's not too heavy just in bodybuilding. It's too heavy in general on just about everything. The biggest thing I saw plague people, even high-level coaches that were programming for other people, the biggest problem was the people that they would help would be too ambitious, and they would be like, hey, the percentage called for 72%, and I felt really good, so I just did, an extra 15 pounds or something. And then the form, the coach is giving a recommendation, thinking in their head that this lift is going to look a particular way, and it's going to be done a particular way. And your particular way probably is quite different from what they have in mind. And in Jim Wendler's book, 531, he wrote a ton in there. He mentioned it many times over. He wanted the reps, he wanted them to be kind of on the easy side. He didn't want it to be really hard. He didn't want your 4th rep to look like you're going to die, and then you proceeded to do the 5th rep. And now you're like, oh, I'm doing 531. He wanted it for you to have a capacity well above and beyond. He wanted you to execute the lift the right way. So if someone's executing the lift the right way, it usually means they have the appropriate weight. And if they can do the amount of sets, or they can accomplish what the main intent was, which in this case is bodybuilding, Jay Cutler talking, if they can achieve that, then they can progress, and then they can put more weight on. But I think a lot of us don't have the patience sometimes, especially when you're younger, especially just if you're on like a machine, you're like, click, and you just put more weight on, more weight on, more weight on. And it's probably pulling you away from the intent of the day. But even worse, if you're trying to power lift, that is having a detrimental effect on your body's ability to absorb and to take in the correct information for you to get stronger. Kind of as we pointed out with jiu-jitsu, you can go to class so much that you can't even barely retain any information anymore. Like if you just went and no one explained anything to you and you just got your ass handed to you, I'm sure by like some osmosis and stuff, you would get a little bit better, but you need someone like really explaining it to you. You need some rest, need some recovery. So then when you go watch a video on YouTube, you're like, oh, that's what the coach was saying. Then it sinks in, but it sinks in when you're resting, not when you're just completely getting annihilated every time.
Yeah, it's funny because like what I was about to say about like how I approached lifting early on is kind of already it's exactly what I'm doing right now with jiu-jitsu. But what I was going to say was I would always go heavier than I should have because I wasn't being patient, because I'm like, I want to get big, and big guys lift big weights. So The faster I can lift heavier weights, the bigger I'm going to get, and the quicker I'm going to get there, as opposed to like being patient and like, hey, the big weight's going to come eventually, and then a byproduct of that is like you're going to get bigger because you're going to be lifting proper weight and the proper form and all the above. It's just weird because being in the moment right now with jiu-jitsu, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, I do need to slow down still. So that sucks.
Power Project Family, we talk about beef and meat all the time on the podcast. That's why we've partnered with certified Piedmontese beef. But did you know this? That 85% of all grass-fed, grass-finished beef in the United States is imported from other countries? 85%.
Damn.
But certified Piedmontese is made in the U.S. of A.
America.
Fuck yeah. So go out and get some of the best tasting, some of the leanest, some of the best beef from Piedmontese. Andrew, how can they get it?
Absolutely. So you guys can head over to cpbeef.com and at checkout enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Again, cpbeef.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Fuck yeah.
Where's my mouse? Anybody seen it? There it is.
In there, or they train the legs a lot easier, but most of the time I see people training too heavy in the gym. They're picking up weights, they're using their shoulders to bench press or their triceps, or they're really just trying to go for weight records. And remember, bodybuilding, and I stress over and over, it takes a pattern of a lot of things, but it's mainly working for the pump and doing repetitions. It's not about 1 or 2 or 3, 4 reps. It's about 8 to 12 repetitions, getting constant blood flow to the muscles and allowing your muscles to swell in order to get that round muscle look. And that's how you win bodybuilding shows.
So jacked.
So huge.
Golly.
That's one of those things that I feel like, when I watch certain people lift, I'm hating, like Mike O'Hearn is very, like when you watch him lift, it's really good. Because there's some people you see him like even do like a cable row in the gym. And there's a lot of momentum. There's like they pull and then they let their weight ride them back. They pull, they let their weight ride. And they're not controlling it all the way back. And then you see a guy like him who's doing maybe close to the whole stack and just doop, hold, slowly bringing it back. It's like that. And then you just wonder, okay, what is that then doing for the muscle growth of this person who's controlling it all the way back and all the way, and how much they're able to feel more than the guy who's like rowing with momentum and letting it go back, doing the whole stack, but really not really doing much,
Yeah, and probably the range also, right? Like keeping it nice and close to the stomach, so that way they can yank it back harder as opposed to letting it pull them out.
What's funny? And this is like, there's a study that came out that Eric Helms, he put it out on his research review that kind of showed that mechanical tension during lifting does help with flexibility, or like how, it helps with flexibility. So pretty much it's like, if you're someone who feels that they're not mobile, if you're someone who feels pretty stiff, if you just kind of also did kind of what we're talking about here, if you just kind of change the way you lift and try to increase the range of motion on almost everything you do. And when I say that, I mean, going to positions that some people would say is unsafe. Maybe right now on the bench press, you can only go here, but kind of, can you let the load take you a little bit deeper safely and come back up? That's going to increase your mobility and flexibility in that area. And now studies show it, even though we fucking known it. But, you can move better because of actually lifting. You can use lifting to help you move in a better way.
It feels, it might feel kind of sketchy at first. And then that means you got to reduce the weight even further. You might go to do it and be like, "Ooh, okay, hold on. Let me reverse those dumbbells, and I'll put them back in the rack and let me grab the 30s or 35s and let me go elbows out as hard as you can and trying to keep them up higher and stuff." I mean, there's so many different ways to do a lot of these movements. And I think that, again, I think bodybuilding, I think strength training, even to a certain extent, is more of like an art form than it is a science. And I think it's very difficult to study. But yeah, some of the research coming out more recently, that I think some of it was kind of stating that stretching is like a form of strength, and that stretching can help to make people stronger. It's super interesting. It's like, what a completely different way of looking at it. And I remember that years ago, there was articles about stretching in between exercises to help gain some size, and Tom Platz used to do that often, and some other bodybuilders followed, and they believed by getting a pump and then stretching and getting a pump and stretching that you got bigger faster. Who really knows? It's hard to say, but there are so many different ways of being able to achieve all this. For people that really do love to just hit a heavier weight, my suggestion would be to still do that here and there. Like, you don't have to get rid of that. It's a great signal to your body. It's a great message to your body that you know how to do a particular lift. I would say that, try to do it with like a particular form or something. You don't want to just hurt yourself every time you try to go heavy. But like I did this with some curls the other day. Part of the reason why I did it with some curls and single arm overhead press was that I know that there's like a governor on those weights. Like there's only so much weight that I'm going to be able to curl. There's only so much weight I'm going to be able to even kind of hoist into position for like an overhead press. And so, I'm like, all right, if I could do like the 70s, that would be really cool. So I did the 40s and the 50s and then played around with a little bit more and did the 70s and did a couple reps on each arm. And then was able to do, after I did the overhead presses, able to do some curls. And it felt great. It felt like a good input. The form and technique wasn't the same. I wasn't trying to bodybuild. I was trying to handle a weight. And I wanted to handle the weight not for my shoulders and not necessarily for my biceps. I wanted to handle it for my body. Because I'm running, I'm trying to build my body to be more resilient. I want my back to be able to twist and rotate better. I want to be able to move side to side better. So I'm like, if I press this weight up with some good force, this will be some really good training for me. And if I can control it when I'm coming back down. And so for some people that really love to lift heavy weights, maybe pick certain exercises where, like, for example, let's say you love deadlifting. Say you absolutely love to deadlift. Okay, I get it. You want to have the bar and you want to have 5 plates on there. Grab 90-pound dumbbells or 80-pound dumbbells. Do some RDLs and do them until your fingertips touch the top of your shoelaces. And do some reps there. That is a really great exercise. Super challenging, but anyone that can deadlift 500 pounds for a couple reps would be able to do sets of 10 on there probably.
Should be able to.
Yeah, and if they haven't done it before, you might start lighter, but that's an awesome exercise. And people have been doing movements like that forever. Also, if you're doing it without straps, it's going to start to be really challenging on your grip. It's challenging on your traps and your neck and everything else. So there's so many ways to kind of get to some of this, but reducing the weight, not even so much reducing the weight shouldn't be the message. Do the exercise the right way. Just learn how to do the exercise the right way, and we're good. We don't need to talk any further about it.
One thing that I think could help a lot of people, and this is hard. This was really hard for me when I was younger, but now I feel like it helps in how I progress with a lot of things and not get injured. Think about the way you're doing it, and just think to yourself, does what I'm doing seem to be sustainable? Does the way I'm training, is it sustainable? As I get older, do other people that I train like or train like this, do I see them still training like this? Or are a lot of people that are doing the things the way that I'm doing it, are some of them fucked up? Do they have multiple injuries? Example, and I love Lane, but we saw that video with him and Peter Attia talking about, I believe it was, Peter was saying, oh, you put cars on your back. How long more are you going to be able to do this? And Lane said that there was just multiple times that he got injured where, he had those workouts where he just kind of grit through it and then re-injured himself rather than just backing off like he knew he should have.
Right.
And this is an extremely intelligent human being.
Well, Lane Norton has been hurt severely. Like he got hurt a couple times severely, unfortunately. And it's great to see him lifting again. But man, sometimes some of these injuries, some of the injuries I've had, they're not just threatening to where you won't lift again. They're threatening to like your life, your quality of life.
Absolutely. And that's the thing you got to think about. Think about your quality of life at 40, 50, 60. Do you want to have all the access versus like just the intention of the way you lift can change that outcome. You can still gain all that muscle and gain all that strength. And it may, in your mind, take a little bit longer and require a little bit more patience. But at the end of the day, you will get through that athletic part of your career and ideally get to your older years still able to play the game. It would suck to be at that stage, 40, 50, 60, and you can no longer play the game because of some stupid ways you were lifting when you were 20. That's some bullshit.
How cool would it be to hang on to like a certain capacity for like a long time rather than you're like rolling the dice, on this 725-pound deadlift. Like, oh, let's see what happens. But rather than being able to deadlift 725 just one time when you're 25 or 30, how cool would it be to be able to still deadlift 315 for some repetitions when you're 60 or you're 50? And it's not even so much that you train that way and do that all the time. You just have that capacity because you've been training in these ranges of motion.
Yeah, just for fun, Mark, because it's 2023. When you were in your, I'll say, prime of powerlifting, how much weight did the bar have to have just so that way you can bring your elbows like down to like your chest?
Oh yeah, that was a good 3 plates or so. Yeah.
315 just to bring that weight down.
Yeah, to get the weight to touch my chest all the way because built up some good stiffness and tightness in there. That's when I knew it was going to be a good day.
Did you do warm-up sets at all, or did you like just start with like 225 or 315 on the bar?
I've done some stupid stuff where I just started heavy, but most of the time I warmed up.
Most of the time, okay.
Most of the time.
But I had to like row the weight to bring it all the way down sometimes.
That's what I mean. That's crazy to me.
Doug, I think I saw a video where Russ was talking with Jamal Browner, and I don't know if this was on deadlifts or if it was on bench, but Russ was like, "Dog, I think you're like one of the fastest lifters or quietest lifters," because one day he just walked in and apparently just put 4 plates on the bar immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, his man started with 4 plates. Let's go.
He's not even warming up. He's just going.
It's just like, that's what it takes, right?
That guy is, well, they're both built different, but man.
Yeah, what is he, deadlift 11 something, right?
But he deadlifts something stupid like that. He's done 11 something, I think, with straps. But if you do watch Jamal, he said he's YOLO'd shit, but at the end of the day, like, you watch his form, fucking pristine. He's not breaking down. A lot of people, when they start to approach those heavier numbers, like, there's breakdown. And if there's breakdown when you're moving heavy weight, you shouldn't be moving that weight yet.
That's the thing too. I mean, you watch, and that's what makes it hard. You know, you watch some of those old school Jay Cutler videos, and he's preaching, he's saying, hey, don't use heavy weight. But Jay Cutler was so strong. It's like one of those easy for you to think, easy for you to say kind of things, right? Because Jay Cutler is like rubbing his butt cheeks on the ground with like a 500-pound squat and doing it for sets of 10 with like no problem, you know? So it's like he already feels adequate. He already feels good. And so here's the, a guy in the gym trying to just do 275 for a couple reps. And so it's understandable that but you can't rush it. The work has to be done, and there has to be a certain body of work has to happen for you to input that strength the right way.
I mean, the goal could be, I want to make it look like Jay's.
Right.
Not that I want to lift Jay's weight, but can it look like Jay's? I think I could do that.
Yeah, 5,000 pounds on this leg press machine too. Shit.
TRT, it's a popular topic. A lot of guys are hopping on it. It's something that we've talked about a lot. And you might think you're a candidate, but how would you know if you haven't got your blood work done and you don't know where your markers are? That's why we've partnered with MER Health, owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And the cool thing about MER is you'll get your blood work done, and you'll also have a patient care coordinator that can help you analyze your blood work, analyze your testosterone, all these other markers to help you actually figure out if you're someone who needs TRT, because there could be things that you could be doing nutritionally, with supplements, or even with your lifestyle that can boost your testosterone to the levels that they should actually be at. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yes, that's over at merichealth.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 10% off the Power Project panel, the checkup panel, or any individual lab that you select. Again, that's at merichealth.com/powerproject. Promo code POWERPROJECT at checkout. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes. I don't remember what John Meadows has to say, but let's see.
The bottom line is, I'm trying to think how I can break this down as simple as possible. So you have a lot of muscle fibers that fire. When you use heavy weight, you use a lot of muscle fibers. They all get involved because they got to produce force to move that heavy weight. If you're using light weights, you're not using all those muscle fibers. But if you go to the point where you fatigue those fibers, then it has to call other fibers into play to help. Then when you fatigue those fibers, you have to call other fibers in to help. So you can get, all the muscle, they call them high threshold motor units, low threshold motor units, all that stuff. You can get all your muscle fibers to fire with lighter weight if you go to fatigue. Here's the problem. Think about doing a hard set of 30 reps. All right? How does it feel when you're at 20? You're burning like fire, right? So what do most people do? They just stop. Like, oh my God, that burns so bad. I just stop. I just threw the bar down. All right, for you to get all those muscle fibers that I talked about, you have to go pretty close to failure, if not failure, with a light weight. That's the only way you can engage those muscle fibers. Now, if you're using a heavier weight, the weight's heavy, so you need every muscle fiber firing to produce enough force to be able to move that way. Now the problem becomes, what can your joints handle? Can the connective tissue handle that? So if someone's out there saying you got to go heavy on everything, well, talk to me in a couple years about how your rotator cuff's feeling, how your lower back's feeling, how your knees are feeling. Those are the guys that are always injured. If you're one of those people that says, no, you can do it all with light weights, okay, I want to see you do those sets of 30 or 25 or 30 reps to failure every single set. See how long you last. See how long you can do that. So to me, the optimal approach is a mix of the two. You can't go heavy all the time, but it's just not practical going light to failure all the time either. So, you've got to find a way to weave those in together for the best benefits.
Mountain Dog.
Man. He just explained some like really high level stuff very simply. That was really, really well said and really well done. What comes to mind is somebody like Matt Wenning, who goes and rebuilds himself every time. Every time that he's built up strength, he'll start over. So you might think that when you're thinking about particular power lifters, you might think that because of what you normally see on their Instagram, that's what they do. But Matt Wenning is probably the most famous for the Wenning warm-up, which is, he's still handling heavy weights because he's very strong. But the Wenning warm-up is, he's doing 3 to 5 sets of 10 reps, maybe with some dumbbells on like an incline bench before he does his benching and stuff. But the main point in bringing that up is that he does a lot of lighter weight stuff to counteract all the heavy stuff that he does. And last time he was here, he's developing his system more and more, and he does a great job. But he was saying, like, this is spinal compression, this is decompression. This is spinal compression, this is decompression. Some of the things he was pointing out aren't that simple. It's not necessarily compression, decompression, but dragging a sled, you're dragging a sled forward and backward, it's certainly way different style of training than doing a squat where the bar is loaded on your back. Doing deadlifts is certainly way different than using something like a belt squat. So he brilliantly kind of meshed those things together where someone like himself he could still do what he loves. He could still bench over 500 pounds easy. Like Matt would be an example of someone that can probably just do that for however long he wants. And it's not because he's some genetic anomaly. It's not because of steroids. It's because he really put a lot of thought into it. But without that thought going into it and just trying to get things done with lifting heavy all the time ain't going to work. And it's also not going to work to only lift light. So you're kind of screwed. You got to do some sort of mesh of both. I mean, it depends on how far you want to push your body, right?
Yeah.
Like you certainly can lift very, very light and probably make a lot of progress. But again, that would take a tremendous amount of thought around it.
Yeah. And that's why, again, it's like Matt's a good person to pay attention to as for a power lifter, because how old is Matt? Maybe he's in his 40s.
Yeah, he's probably mid 40s. Yeah.
Right. But like he's still one of those guys that as at that point is able to do what he loves at a high level and with like moving well, moving efficiently. He's not broken down. And so like, it's like, and I don't want that to take away from like, there are some older cats who maybe there is some breakdown, but there's still very good stuff in what they're doing. So I don't want to say like, that's just bad, but there's lessons within that. There's like, okay, well, what are the things that maybe put this person in this situation, even though they are still an amazing coach, right? But that's the thing. It's like you need to look at where they are, what they're doing, and why they're there. And then for the guys who are still doing it, maybe there's some other stuff that is really helpful in terms of what they're doing that you could pull from. Stan
Efferding still looks awesome. And I don't know if you guys saw him swimming the other day. Did you see that?
This is interesting.
He was swimming. Him and Bones Jones are doing all kinds of really cool training. He had Jones pulling the sled for like a mile or something the other day. See if you can bring it up.
I'll look at it.
See if you can check it out on Instagram. But yeah,
the sled for a mile.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty wild. Stan sent me a video of Stan swimming, and just hear him breathing like a maniac. But the swimming was very impressive. It was awesome.
Do you want audio then?
Yeah, if you can get some audio.
Was he a swimmer at all when he was a teenager?
I don't know, but he did great. I was impressed. I was like, holy shit. But I mean, this is a guy who squatted 887, I think, in competition, benched over 600 pounds raw, deadlifted like 865, I think. I mean, he's all-time world records in powerlifting and a professional bodybuilder. and now he's swimming at mid 50s. Oh,
he's got
might have
little
put music.
flippers on.
He put music over top.
Ruined it.
I have a clip here. I'll
Text
email
it.
it to you or text it to you.
That is a good
Watch
hack
this
for
one.
swimming, though. Get some flippers. It's
I didn't see that.
makes that a lot. But he's moving.
Yeah.
Such an awesome activity. You know, swimming is unbelievable, but also very challenging. I mean, these are like that's why we talk about on this podcast quite often. Is it's nice to have some other skill sets. Mm-hmm. You know, if you, it's great just to be able to get exercise in a bunch of different ways.
Oh, but dude, you know that the thing is I get why. You know, I get why someone who is lifting goes heavy when they shouldn't go heavy, because there's this innate want to really push yourself. There's this innate want to really like challenge yourself. And if you're going through a workout and the only way you have felt currently to challenge yourself is by doing some heavy ass shit, I get it. But like, can you figure out other ways in terms of the way you lift to challenge yourself, or pick up other activities that will challenge you so you can kind of get that same feeling? You can figure that out.
No, I agree. I think that that is a huge part of it. Like people need to figure out a way to get that out of their system.
Yeah.
Get that out of their body, you know, and you know, maybe you used to be athletic, maybe you used to be fast or something, and maybe you can like simultaneously while you're working on the strength aspect,
Go take a 100-meter sprint at
Yeah.
100% capacity.
exactly.
Downhill.
No, go do something. Go do something that you know you're going to feel good with. You know, something that's like an underhand pitch for you, something that's like easy for you, whatever the hell it is. Find those things, and you probably, whenever you do that against some of your friends or with some of your friends, you're probably like better than them, or at least on par, and in some respect. And you're like, okay, well, I'm good at this. I suck at this other thing, but at least I have this. I mean, it's probably been helpful with you, with both of you guys, with jiu-jitsu, having the lifting background and having proficiency in soccer and proficiency in bodybuilding, like being a pro bodybuilder, going into jiu-jitsu, even though you were getting smoked in the beginning,
100%.
you still had something else that you could go and rely on, and you could, you know, do your whatever workout that was prescribed for the day and still feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Not just getting killed all the time.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, that is true. I was getting killed a lot, but still being able to go and lift was super helpful. You know, but that's the thing. It's like, you know, you're going to suck for a bit, so give
It's
it
new.
time. It's new.
Does that
Swimming,
come over
though?
to you?
Not yet.
How often do you swim much or no?
No, I need to go back to the drawing board completely with swimming. I don't even really know if I know how to swim anymore.
Really?
I mean, I think I can figure it out to like not die. I jumped in the Sacramento River like a couple years ago, and
Oh God, a couple years ago. Shit.
yeah, I was big. It was like I had an anchor around my ass, or my ass was the anchor.
You're just going down in the V because your booty's
and-
full.
Yeah, 100%. And Jake saved my life, so he gave me a bunch. You know, it was funny because he gave me like those water weenie things.
Yeah.
and like
little pool noodle.
I put one under each arm, and I'm still going down. And then I put like, he kept giving it to me, and then other people were like throwing it to me. And I had to like, I'm like riding it. It's like I was wearing it like a diaper. It's like in my like crotch. That's like where it helped me the most.
You had a raft built out of pool noodles.
And then I tried to play it off as if I wasn't really dying, but I was pretty much like really on my way out, probably.
Oh man, that's crazy.
All right, so now we got the OG video.
Oh yeah, so you can hear that.
Let's see, where's the play button? There we go. Why is there no sound?
I can
There's
hear-
sound.
There's okay. Oh, my bad.
Oh.
That's the way he sounds in the podcast.
Yes, sir.
We're talking some shit over here.
I can't.
Stan is the one who's swimming. You know?
It's true.
I cannot swim like that at all.
No, I would die. I was impressed that he swam straight.
It sounded like he was gasping for like just life.
Oh, yeah. He did say, he texted me, he's like, I nearly died like 3 weeks ago.
Hey, good for Stan, man.
But look, this is a guy who benched over 600 pounds. He's got some. The shoulders are coming.
Andrew, rewind. We got to
up
hear
and
this
over.
breathing again.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a freight train coming at you.
I'm sorry, Stan.
Dude, I didn't know what it was when I first listened to it. I was like, "What is that?"
Someone's like, having sex in the background.
Yeah, what the fuck's going on?
Again now. Where'd my mouse go? Hold on.
It's so. But the shoulder is impressive. You're right. His
Lots of mobility there.
He was the noisiest powerlifter of all time, so I think it makes sense.
Yo, what if he took that into swimming a little bit? Like, what if it actually helped him get better?
Yeah. Yeah, all the weird noises.
Every stroke is just a different one.
Oh my god.
Oh, Stan. No, I'm pumped for him though. That's great that he's swimming because I remember when he came here, I think we were talking about what he's doing, and he was like, "I'll lift," you know.
Yeah.
So he's a little sweaty and red. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's training bones, man. It'll be interesting. I think his fight is maybe 2.5 weeks away or so. 3 weeks away.
Damn.
Who's he fighting?
3 weeks. The UFC heavyweight
Stipe.
Not Stipe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah, Ngannou's gone. So it just went to Stipe? Mm-hmm. Wait, did Stipe have to fight to get that, or did it like literally pass down to Stipe?
I don't remember what happened, but they
Must have had to fight.
let's see.
For it, right?
Rogan Rogan was asking Francis if there's a possibility that they could fight him and Bones. And he said even with the contract that he has, he still thinks that there is a possibility that he could fight in the UFC.
That Francis could.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
If Dana White lets him, though.
Yeah, well, I think he won't have a choice. Yeah, I don't think he'll have. I mean, Bones has a tall order to beat one of the best UFC heavyweight champions. So, I mean, just because Francis Ngannou beat him doesn't mean that Bones is going to be able to, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, November 11th.
November 11th. We can talk about it on a future podcast, but it's been really cool to see Stan be able to help Bones Jones not only gain all that weight. I think that people just think, there was all those comments last time about Bones' physique and everything, and I think Bones looks badass to me. He looks big, Okay, he's got some body fat on him, but that's not really the main focus. And having a ton of extra muscle on him, who knows what that would do to him in the ring? Just having 30 extra pounds of muscle out of nowhere. So I don't know, exactly how Stan and John Jones kind of figured things out, but looks like they figured things out really good, where he still has a good gas tank. Mm-hmm. And he's
we don't know
put all that weight on.
The fight finished so
that's
fast.
True. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, we hope he has a good gas tank.
But knowing Stan, he has a good gas tank.
Yeah,
Stan's not going to let that.
Yeah, just seeing all the stuff that they do, he looks like he's doing really well. But like you said, we don't know until you get dragged out into those, third and fourth rounds and stuff like that.
Wouldn't it be wild if you did another first round like knockout or choke? Wouldn't that be just?
Would you be surprised though?
No.
Yeah.
I would not, man.
But I
his mindset
agree
is mindset's just different.
Yeah.
Bones Jones' mindset is just incredible. It's interesting that we ended up kind of talking about Bones because Bones Jones lifts very heavy.
He does.
He lifts very, very heavy. But again, there's a lot of stuff. Again, you're on Instagram, and in terms of social media, you're going to mainly see bigger lifts done by people. They're not going to share the 8 sets of rotator cuff exercise they did when they first got into the gym. When they were tired or sore or whatever, they're going to share with you the bigger lift. And so I know that Bones does some of that, but I don't think it's every workout.
Oh, yeah, of course not. That's the thing. The reason why you only see those few videos is because it's probably spread out.
Right.
He works up to that. But also when he does some of these lifts, there was a video with the OG Masthetics guys where he was doing deadlifts from the ground, but a lot of stuff that I saw his coach doing, who we had on the podcast, his coach was... What's his other coach, strength coach's name?
I lost his name.
No. Damn it. It makes me so mad. I know I was looking at his page just the other day.
Last name?
Close. That sounds about right. Let me just check.
Well, saw him
real
working some
quick.
partial range of motion, like it was rack pulls.
Yep.
You know, was what he was doing. Still crazy load,
Right.
but that's a safe load for him with that type of load.
It's
or safe
safer.
range.
Jordan Chavez.
There we
Jordan
go.
Chavez. Sorry, sir. All right.
Sorry, Jordan.
Love you.
Anything else to add? I think we've nailed some of this down pretty good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, nailed that bitch down, pinned her. Made sweet love. Because it was consensual pinning. Okay.
Oh.
She wanted to be pinned.
So lift light. Is the message.
Lift like a bitch, never push yourself in the gym. That's kind of what we talk about.
Nonstop.
I know. I wonder if people are probably getting frustrated. Like, these guys ever just go for it? They ever just go hard?
Yeah, like to go to sleep.
Right?
Try really hard. I try my hardest there.
9 p.m., bruh.
You're so lucky.
Nah, it's
Where you could just be like, I'm gonna go to bed.
Hey, man, it was your choice
No, I
to
know.
have a boy.
No, you're
a
absolutely
baby,
right.
You know, and when I
I'm
make that
grateful for
choice,
it.
I'm gonna be talking to you guys and whining my ass off of how like that kid's crying.
And I'll be like Mark and be like, this is just a small phase, just a blink of an eye.
I might just get some milk and never come back. You never know.
That's
what my daddy did.
Never saw him.
Yep.
Never saw him again. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.
I'll never leave my baby. Check out this episode right here about how to work out every single day and build up that movement hygiene. Yes, movement hygiene, just like brushing your teeth every day. I usually go every 2 days, but brushing your teeth every 2 days, flossing every 5 days, you want movement hygiene every day. So check this video out.